Welcome to Marriage Unmasked. Today we're unmasking codependency in your marriage relationship. And it's a big topic because I mean, for years I didn't even know what codependency was. Like I didn't even understand that was an issue, and I didn't understand what it was all about. So it's actually really good to be aware of it because it certainly affects the marriage relationship and the dynamic in your marriage a ton.
Yeah, I mean, it was really at the root of a lot of the pain for many, many years. And because we didn't know what it was, we didn't understand it, it continued to cause us pain. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But really, codependency is offering this kind of love that looks selfless on the outside, but really it keeps you stuck. It can lead to so much resentment, and you're just drained. It's really a very painful place to be because you're looking for somebody else to make you feel okay. And as we know, we can't depend on each other to be perfect. We can't depend on somebody else to be perfectly meeting our needs.
Absolutely.
And so when your identity, when your emotions, or your sense of worth are wrapped up and tied to somebody else's behavior, somebody else's approval, it's just a recipe for pain. And some of the ways that this might show up in your relationship is like when you're over functioning to keep the peace, right? You're bending over backward, maybe you're keeping silent to keep the peace, because if there's not peace, you don't feel okay. Or sometimes it's like feeling responsible for your spouse's emotions, or trying to heal or fix your spouse, because otherwise you don't feel okay. Or avoiding conflict, just avoiding thinking that conflict is a problem and you're avoiding it at all costs.
Yeah. Right. And like usually codependency is because there's like a hole in your heart that you're trying to fill. There's like a God-sized hole in your heart that you're trying to fill with all of these things that you're trying to get them from your spouse. It's really a sneaky form of idolatry, because you're actually looking for your source in something other than God, and you're looking for your source in your spouse and in their behavior. And so it's almost like a religious activity then, because you end up doing whatever it takes and following whatever rules you think are in your brain in order to make the other person okay so that they can meet your needs and that you can feel okay.
Yeah.
And that was something I wrestled with a lot in our relationship.
Yeah, and I think that's why it can be really tricky for Christians, especially because it looks so, nice, quote unquote, nice. And but really what's at the heart of it is it's a very self-focused thing, right? You are really thinking about your own needs, which there's not a problem with thinking about your
Right.
needs, but when you're depending on somebody else to meet all of your needs for you to feel okay, that causes a lot of pain because they're just not ever going to be able to do that. And I came into our marriage and didn't realize this at the time, but now with reflection and the healing that God has helped me to have, I realized I came into our marriage with a deep emptiness, that a deep core need of like needing to feel loved, needing to feel significant. Those were some wounds that I had, and I was looking for Adam. I thought, okay, now I get married, my husband, he's gonna love me so well. And I didn't even necessarily have these thoughts in my head. It was like maybe more of a subconscious thing. Like, okay, he's going to love me perfectly and I'm going to feel just so cherished and seen. And, I'm going to matter so much to him. And that is not what happened. Not like Adam didn't show love to me, but I was looking for him to really just fill this emptiness that I felt in me. And of course he couldn't do that. And so that led to so much pain, so much kind of desperation in trying to get him to do that, and then I also was looking for it in other places too, which is a little outside of the topic of codependency, but where you can go to food, you can go to exercise, you can go to your job, and you can be looking for those things, to meet your needs as well. But that is how it showed up for me in our marriage, at the beginning, and it was well, it was not just the beginning. It continued for a while until I understood this,
Yeah.
really.
And it showed up equally for me. It's funny because what comes to my mind when you're saying those things is like that movie line, that Hollywood line of like, you complete me. And it's really a lie because nobody else can complete the other person. But I had some of those same things coming into our marriage as well. I had needs for like approval, for appreciation, for yeah, feeling loved too, being accepted. And so I thought I was going to get those needs met by Kara in this perfect way. And so I came in, you know, expecting to get all those needs met, and not always, you know, of course, getting those needs. And it's not like she didn't accept me. It's not like she didn't love me. It's not like she didn't approve of me at times, but I was really looking for that to fill all of that need inside of me. And it was just not happening. And I would get very codependent and try to manipulate the situation, try to do all the right things, follow all the rules in order to somehow get those needs met. And that really comes from, you know, my childhood and my background, where it was very much you're okay if everybody's at peace, and you're okay if you're getting approval by being good, by performing in a really good way, a way that could be perceived as good. If you do that, then you get approval, then you get acceptance. So very much a religious kind of outlook. And so I came in, you know, really applying those things to Kara, and not getting those needs met, and then kind of being, you know, very codependent on that, and trying to, you know, do everything I could to get those things. And it was very, very painful for me too.
Yeah, I mean, I remember just a couple of years ago when we were actually first discussing this, and Adam shared with me, we were just sitting in bed, and he shared with me that he had never felt accepted, that he had never felt approved of, not from his family, not from God, even not from me. But that makes so much sense, because if you are trying to be good enough, well, how would you ever feel accepted or approved of? Because you're never perfect, right? You're never going to be perfect. So when you have that kind of ideology where you need, you know, you're taught like you need to be good, this is good, bad, right, wrong, all the time, and that is really hammered in, is like this appearance of good, that can lead to just so much pain.
Yeah.
And I mean, what a horrible feeling to have. The thought to have, really, that you're just never good enough. You're never good
Right.
enough.
And that is the thought that played out in my marriage very heavily. Is that was the thing that was constantly on loop in my brain, is I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And that's where I was like focused so much on that. And so I was doing everything possible to be good enough in the relationship, and to be good enough as a husband, so that I could get Kara's acceptance and approval.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very common thing. I mean,
Oh,
I
it
think a lot
absolutely
of
is a
guys,
common
I
thing.
think a lot of guys struggle with that good enough, you know, like being good enough, feeling like they're good enough, and are very codependent in the relationship because of that mindset and that way of showing up.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things. This happens in every relationship. This isn't just
Yeah.
you know, sometimes this you'll see this, right? You'll see this in your relationship, because it happens to everybody, and there's no reason to feel ashamed or to, you know, anything like that. It's just bringing awareness to it, because the good news is that you can heal in this area, because God does offer you that you come to Him to fill all the emptiness that you're feeling. That is why He created you, so that He could come in and fill that, and you guys could have this very, very beautiful, close relationship.
Yeah.
And so that's the good news, is that, yeah, absolutely, you can get those needs met. And you can shift from the way that you're currently trying to do that. And you know, sometimes, like we were talking about, just the whole, sometimes Christians really struggle with this specifically. I mean, everybody does, but like there can be some sneaky things there that they actually think are good or right? Like a good wife keeps her husband happy. That idea of, like, you need to be doing something to keep him so that he's okay. That really feeds that this whole concept of, codependence.
Or happy wife, happy life, like that husbands often believe in and look to, like happy wife, happy life. You do everything you can to keep your wife happy so that your life is good. I mean, that's codependent right there.
Yeah, or like the idea of sacrifice means that you need to stay silent. Like, oh, this is just a sacrifice I'm giving for my marriage. I don't speak up, right? I don't say what I'm really feeling. I don't talk about my needs. That is actually not a healthy concept. And if I do this better, if I like you were probably thinking that
Oh,
same
yeah.
thing, like if I'm good enough, then she'll change, she'll approve of me,
Yes.
she'll whatever. And it really comes from this place of control, right? You're actually trying to control your spouse so that you feel okay.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's where that really comes back to a very self-focused thing, which it's totally okay to get your needs met and want to get your needs met. But when we're trying to control our spouse to do that, it's just very unhealthy. It's not going to end. It's not going to end in a healthy way. So
Absolutely. I do want to kind of just tell a story about like what what this looked like in our dynamic, and it actually happened quite a few times, not just one story of this, but there were many times when Kara had like a big event, like let's say it's her birthday, or let's say it's Mother's Day or Valentine's Day or something like that, and I often would try to be good enough again in the area of like getting her gifts or doing these things, and I was very codependent in this because I would get all these things. She wants to feel cherished. She wants to feel loved. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. But then I was trying to meet those needs by kind of checking off a box, by kind of doing the performance. Like I'm gonna get her flowers, and and so I had these ideas. I wasn't really being thoughtful necessarily. I wasn't really thinking. What does she really want? What does she really need from me to feel special on that day? I'm going to do the things that I think are going to get that result. So I'm going to get her, a couple gifts. I'm going to get her the flowers and check these boxes. I'm going to make a meal, whatever. And so then I was holding on to these things as if this is what I'm I'm doing. And if I invest these things in her birthday, then she's going to have a good time and she's going to accept me. She's going to approve me, and she's going to love me because I'm doing these things. And that's very almost, I mean, manipulative, really.
yeah.
It is because, and I didn't realize all the time that was codependent. And when I would get angry when she didn't like those things.
And that's really that's
That was a
the
sign.
issue, right?
Yeah,
Because
that was a sign.
on the outside, it looks really great,
Yep.
right? He's so nice. I mean, I just had a reel recently go viral, and it's at like over 5 million views. And it was about this kind of topic
Yeah.
of nice guy.
Yeah.
And the comments were outrageous. They were very hurtful. In some ways, they didn't understand our story, and that's
Right.
okay, right?
Yeah.
But it's just so interesting to me how, again, people will look at that and they will say, there's nothing wrong with that. Look at how nice he is. He did these things. You should be happy.
Yeah.
But the issue, it's a deeper issue, right? This is a heart issue. It's a heart issue for him
Yeah.
because he is trying to behave in a way to earn approval or to be okay only if I'm okay.
And she
so,
could feel that, like
Yeah.
she would know that. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was a genuine, like she really understood this was a really genuine thought. I was trying to be thoughtful, even if it didn't mean anything. But if she thought if she got the impression that I was trying really hard to be thoughtful, even if the gift wasn't perfect, she would have appreciated it all the more. But she could, I mean, she could see
can
through,
tell, right?
She could see through the fact that I was just doing these things to kind of check a box to try to gain her approval. And that isn't coming from a genuine, loving, abundant place in my heart.
Yeah. It's such an interesting topic.
Yeah.
But it really what we want to offer you is just to take some time and really check in with your own heart. Check in with what are the deepest needs that you have. What if your spouse could meet one need today, what would it be? Yeah, ask yourself that question and then notice that need. So for me, it would be, to be loved, and or it would be, to feel significant to him, like I matter. And so what I can do then is take that deep need, and I can say, God, how do you want to meet that need? Because really what our heart is yearning for is for God to meet that need, because then it's going to get met perfectly in such beautiful ways. God will, astound you with how much he can meet those needs for you. So take those needs that you think your spouse is going to fill for you. And I'm not saying that your spouse won't fill some needs for you or can't. But it's so much more beautiful when you can come to your relationship with your needs met with God. You can meet some of your own needs as well. And then your cup is running over, right? You're feeling so loved. You're feeling so taken care of. You're feeling so much like you matter. And then you show up so differently to your relationship. Whereas if you're grasping, if you're feeling so empty and you're just grasping to get those needs met, it's a very different energy that you're bringing to your marriage.
Yeah, very much so. And same with approval. I mean, to get my need for approval met with God, who perfectly approves of me. Because of what Jesus did, I am fully and completely approved of in his eyes. And to go there and to fill up on that and to know who I am in his eyes already is so powerful and can fill me so much so that I can come to the relationship, like you said, with a full cup, and to be able to, give from that full cup instead of this grasping, needy place.
Yeah, and sometimes we might think that we get that, right? I get it. I know that I am accepted by God, right? I know my sins are forgiven. I mean, Adam, he had been raised in a Christian family his whole life.
Yeah.
But how, does he go for years and not ever feel accepted? That's because there is a difference between hearing something in your head, right, and knowing it so deeply in your heart. And so we encourage you to really pursue that with God. Really ask him, dig into these things with him. Really pursue that in your relationship with him.
Yeah, absolutely. The embodiment of it, the actual experience of it, the knowing it deeply in your bones is something that is very, very, it's so much more powerful than head knowledge.
So if you're wondering, okay, you're starting to maybe see what some of your needs are, what might be some red flags in your relationship, if this is happening and it's causing pain, if you can't say no without feeling guilty, even to someone else besides your spouse, but to your spouse, if you can't say no, that could be a red flag that there are, there's some codependency happening.
Yeah, or you downplay your needs in order to keep the peace. You're stamping down your own heart and your own feelings, all because you're trying to keep the peace. You're trying to keep things going in a certain direction in the relationship. That can be also a red flag. Another one is you are doing everything to kind of fix their mood. So their moods, you're trying to adjust yourself to cater to whatever mood the other person is in. And I did that a lot in our relationship. And still catch myself sometimes doing that. Like if she's feeling a certain way, then I'm trying to show up a different way in order to, make her change her mood. Well, that's a sign of codependency, and it's something to be aware of. It's another red flag. Another one is if you feel like you're carrying the emotional weight of the relationship, that it's all on you, and you have to carry the whole emotional burden of the relationship.
Yeah, and I really noticed that myself, that I did definitely, I can relate to that feeling like I have to run the show, right? I have to carry all the he's not okay. I think the struggle of I'm not enough has so run rampant for Adam in his heart. There's just been so much shame, and so he's been very
unstable.
Really, very
unstable. An unstable presence for you, which creates unsafety and all kinds of things. So
I didn't feel like I had to carry the weight of everything because he was so unstable and so insecure. But we don't have to live that way, right? There's growth available, there's healing available. So it's not selfish again to have needs. We're not saying it's selfish to have needs. It's actually they matter. They matter.
How God made us. God made us to have needs.
Yes.
Even Adam in the garden before like the fall into sin had needs. Like when God says it's not good for the man to be alone, I mean he's experiencing a need even in the perfect Garden of Eden. And God was ready to fill that need with his wife.
Yeah. And sometimes we can, because I have struggled with this in my journey of healing in this area. I have struggled with, so there's codependence, and then there's interdependence, which is more of a healthy place. And then on the other side is independence, where it's like you don't rely on anyone. Like, I'm gonna take care of myself. I'm gonna meet my own needs. Like I don't need him, right? And I have gone, whoosh, I'm gonna go from codependence all the way over to independence. That's usually out of pain again, right? You're kind of putting up a wall. You want to feel safe, and so you're like, okay, I will just get everything met with God. I'll do it, myself. I don't need you. But what happens is you really miss out on connection. You miss out on the beauty that God has for you in
The
relationships.
relationship itself, like, isn't there then.
Mhm.
And it could be for me too. I would go to independence when I would shut down, or I would completely leave the situation and go off on by myself. I would be like, fine, I don't need her then. I'm just going to do things my own way, and that's independence. And that's it's not healthy either, because God didn't design us to be that way. God didn't design us to be fully independent and not to have the relationship.
Yeah, and so we want to come back to that middle place where it's interdependence, where we're not afraid of allowing someone else to meet our needs, but in a moment, right? As long as we know how to get our needs met, they're not our main source, right? We don't need them to do that for us. But we can allow that, if we're like, I'm having a rough day and I'm just really feeling unloved. I can let him know that I'm feeling really unloved, and ask him to meet that need.
And honestly, that's part of how God wants to meet the needs, is through our spouse.
Yeah.
He wants to be the primary source of all of our needs being met, but he also really uses our spouse and works through the spouse to fill some of our needs, and wants to do that. That's part of that beauty that he's set up.
Yeah, yeah. So, one of the big takeaways I hope is just to really understand what are some of your core needs, and also prioritize getting those needs met daily with God. We actually, in our Healing Your Marriage course, have a whole module on codependency and getting your needs met, because we really want to help you understand this fully and really put it into practice, because it's really powerful. I mean, I can't tell you how much it's changed our marriage to understand this and to get healing in these areas. It changes everything. It just changes how you approach life in general. Either you're grasping to get those needs met, or you're living from this full place, and you're able to then pour abundance onto others as well. So it is it's an incredible shift that you can make. So we are here. If you guys have questions, we would love to hear your feedback. And if this resonated with you, please share it on your social media channels. Tag us. We love that. We love to hear what's helping you. We would also love to send us a message. If you have a topic that you want us to cover, we would be happy to do that.